Welcome, alien spores, grannies with xenomorph mouths, and Thanos snapped Doctor Who's Kenny, to episode 391 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 24th of February 2021, and featuring Amy's Choice, written by Simon Nye, and starring Matt Smith as the Doctor, Karen Gillian as Amy Pond, and Arthur Darvill as the aforementioned Kenny Rory Williams. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Chronologically, if you're paying attention, this is the first time they killed Kenny.
Mad Matt Winchell,
Yubi.
and Thomas Fireheart.
I feel like the inspiration for this would make more sense if this was after Inception and not prior to.
Okay.
Where?
So, how's everybody been this week?
Finished a
Very
game.
sore and tired a lot.
Finished a game. Joined another podcast. Oh gosh.
Oh, that's your own damn fault.
I've rescheduled how my single player games are going, and it's actually been going pretty well.
Unfortunately, he's scheduled himself to stream completely during my one free day.
Yeah.
Also got my paycheck from Twitch.
Yeah,
Second one.
nice.
So I've went from 1 and 4 years. I've gone to 2 and 2 years, basically. 2 and 3 years.
Hopefully they keep speeding up.
Hopefully.
I'm starting to get squirrely.
No.
Yeah. I have seen nothing but these walls for months and months and months and months. And I'm starting to get cabin fever, something fierce. I want just the urge to go out and do something. It's starting to, absolutely grow on me. God knows I actually want to see a movie in a theater for once, but, I can't do that. I want to, go out to eat, but I can't do that either.
Which might be why Marvel or Sony, probably Sony, announced the new Spider-Man for a December release, banking on the fact that theaters will all be open by then.
Actually, there was a slew of Marvel stuff today, from what I heard. I don't remember all the details. I just remember that Spider-Man name release and a couple other things are just amongst
if you saw a slew of Spider-Man titles, only No Way Home is real. The rest were
no. A slew of Marvel stuff. Period.
Like
there's just a big barrage.
The other stuff was a few days old because Marvel announced what was coming to Disney Plus a few days ago. But no, it's just the urge to get out and do something. Because, at least Erin goes to work and back, so at least she gets out. I understand now how prisoners can go woohoo, because, I'm just, it's like the walls are starting to close in.
Yeah, at least I get out once a week to go get food.
I haven't done that in months. Not since my mask broke.
Yeah, in fact, it's been 40-degree temperatures the last couple of days. I've actually been getting the itch to go for a walk.
The longest I've left my apartment in the past 3 months was twice I had to go to the post office, and that was it. And neither of them, like it's a campus-owned post office, so it's not like you even wait in line. I poke my head in, put something at the desk, and that's it.
Campus-owned post office around here, I wouldn't go anywhere near it.
Yeah.
That's a plague house.
It's in the building with like the printing office and whatever. Most students probably don't know it exists, but I don't know where the local post office is, and it's convenient to me. So,
no, the plague funk is still hanging over campus right now. So it's still the fact that if you go to downtown Madison, you still have a damn near 100% chance to be exposed to COVID. And
gotcha.
no matter what.
And Madison's a lot more populous than Athens, whether school's in session or not. So
well, yeah, and
that's
people
part of it.
apparently are a lot dumber.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because the second the students hear that they're lightening restrictions, they hold a goddamn frat party with like 500 people, and somebody shows up with COVID.
It seems like the bars that undergrads go to are always full and always have a line out the door, whereas the places that mostly grad students go to are pretty quiet. Because the grad students know about research. We know better.
Yeah. Same thing holds true here. I mean, the undergrads show up and they go to the bars closest to the dorms, which is usually the bars on University Avenue or State Street.
Mm-hmm.
The grad students, however, have lived here long enough to know the nice out-of-the-way places that they can go to socialize without having to be in basically a giant club party.
Mm-hmm.
They're also not going to drink themselves under a table like a bunch of idiots, but...
Oh, but still, yeah, I'm just getting kind of cabin fevery. Aaron comes home and goes, "It's so nice outside." I'm like...
Like I said, it's been 40 the last couple of days. I've been tempted for a walk.
I
find any reason never to take walks.
I almost went for a walk today when I saw that the ice is pretty much all melted, but then it started raining, and I was like, well, I guess I'll wait another day.
Yeah, here we're on that edge where the snow melts during the day and then it freezes at night.
Mm-hmm.
So the roads are actually pretty bad at night, but it's pretty pleasant here during the day. But, other than that, this week has been a non-week.
Yeah,
I did some stuff.
I did a thing.
They introduced their friend Zareth to Phasmophobia while I was out gaming.
Have you seen it yet, by the way?
Yeah, I did. I would have some constructive criticism, but we can talk about that later.
He's a coward and ran to the front door when the ghost went to hunt.
Yeah, basically all I've been doing, aside from the weekend, but then I've had past few days off, or at least being wanted to be called in anyway, as well as the normal days I would work during the week off. I've just been trying to... The idea was to try and get the granny flat out back, like, cleaned and then painted in 3 days, or at least the walls and ceilings cleaned and then prepped and then painted in 3 days. Didn't happen. We were gonna do like one last thing today, and then I'm basically just said, fuck it. My dad has like a week off in March that I'm gonna try and get off as well, and then we'll just try and finish it then so I can move over there. Thankfully I actually got to sleep 8 hours, so my arms aren't fucking killing me like they were yesterday.
I think there's anything else. I think I've covered most of my bases for this week.
So, on tonight's show, we have birthdays, a little bit of news. I have... excuse me. I have no idea where that came from. Anyway, we have birthdays, news. I have a little bit I want to talk about in the rumor mill.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Geek Talk. And then our summary review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So let's get into this, shall we? So we only got 2 birthdays, both on the same day. The first, both of them were on February 20th, and the first one is Anjali Mohindra, who played Ronnie in Sarah Jane Adventures, and then returned to play the Queen Skithra in the last season of Doctor Who. She turned 31. I want people to think about that.
And the Queen Mechanoid.
Oh, yeah.
That Ronnie, the second season sub-in for one of the kids, is now over 30 years old.
She was about 18 at the time. I had to do math because I'm like, she's 5 years younger than me. How young was I back then?
Well, yeah, by the fact that she's 31, slightly older than me. By like a couple of months as opposed to years. Bizarre to think about.
Yeah, it's because we look at them in the show and we're like, well, they're just kids. But
Yeah.
Jesus. So our other birthday is one of our honoraries, and that's Anthony Head, or better known as Anthony Stewart Head, who played Mr. Finch in School Reunion 2006, better known as Rupert Giles in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series. He turned 67. And I'm still saying that appearance was a waste of a good actor. I would have loved to. Could you imagine Anthony Head playing the Master?
Ooh.
That would have been a kick-ass casting. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that would have been a solid casting.
But anyway, we have a little bit of Series 13 news. We've mentioned in the last couple of weeks that they've been filming on the Isle of Barry. This time they are in Cardiff proper, filming at the Millennium Center. Torchwood fans, do not get your hopes up. They're actually using the inside of the Millennium Center, I believe one of the lounges, as opposed to the outside where the Torchwood HQ used to have their secret entrance.
Let's sigh.
But people were spotted there, including the companion. So filming is underway. It looks like this might be the next filming block, at least block 2.
Yeah, previous one might have just been pickups.
Yeah.
They needed to do a new intro or something. But yeah. And then moving to Big Finish news. Big Finish has one new release from the Lost Stories collection, The Doomsday Contract, with Tom Baker, Lala Ward, and John Leeson. So that Lost Stories is usually scripts that were planned, or at least originally written for a season of Doctor Who that never got past the production stage. And the download this week was a non-Doctor Who one, so no biggie there. That's all the news we have. Moving to the rumor mill. This is something that is kind of a rumor mill, kind of a rant. So my news feed has gotten a lot of stories in the last few weeks with speculation on who's going to be the next Doctor. Today, the particular story that I saw that pissed me off, I believe was courtesy of the Daily Telegraph, which speculated it in a way that made it sound like the next Doctor had been chosen. I read this only to find out what their source was.
He was more patient than me.
And it turned out that the entire article was based on a user comment from Reddit. Seriously? God damn media, you need to fucking check your sources.
Heck, this isn't even to check your sources. This is literally don't make news out of nothing.
Yeah, and this literally is nothing. I mean, people speculate on this bullshit all the time.
All the time.
No.
This is nothing new. Why are you making this news?
My best friend and I in the 80s, back before there was such a thing as social media, would sit around and speculate who would be cast if they made an X-Men movie.
Now it would be front page of an online newspaper.
Now, mind you, in our defense, we did get one right.
Oh, yeah.
When we decided who was going to play Professor X, I said Patrick Stewart.
I'm pretty sure I was saying that since the late 90s myself, so...
Oh, well, he did in the late 90s, but...
no,
this was in the 80s. This was a full decade before. This was before even 89 Batman.
I didn't really know about X-Men until till like 90, 92.
Didn't Patrick Stewart say that he was introduced to the character by someone showing him an X-Men comic and him asking why he was on the cover?
Yes.
Yes, that is an actual true story. But
yes, why am I on the cover? And they went exactly.
mm-hmm. But just because we were sitting around speculating did not make us an expert on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
No, we were two kids going, do you know what would be cool?
Yeah.
We also said Arnold Schwarzenegger would play Colossus. That didn't happen.
That didn't happen, but that would have been amusing to see.
I said Mel Gibson would play Wolverine. Close, but
not bad choice, especially in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. I was close. An Australian played him, but no. So, yeah, none of what we said was truly accurate. It was all speculation, and that's all Reddit is. So stop making news articles like these guys are freaking experts. No, wait. You know what? If you're going to go on somebody posting on or somebody making a statement on social media who has nothing to do with the BBC, nothing to do with that, and just saying what they think is going to be the next Doctor, fine, I'll give you one. I state that Roseanne Barr will be the next Doctor following Jodie Whittaker's stand down. Because they want to bring her wit and real life experience into the character. So there you go, Daily Telegraph. Post that in your news article tomorrow. I dare you.
The Doctor is a domestic goddess. There's an old reference for you.
But yes, when you're posting, post from valid sources. Please. Yeah. And knock off the rampant speculation. The BBC has not said Jodie Whittaker is stepping down.
At least not officially yet.
So why are you guys posting so many rumors like they were doing after Capaldi announced that?
Right.
Or at least label it an opinion piece.
Yeah, at least label it an opinion piece. At least tell us that this is tell us what the actual source really is, and that's just a fan speculating stuff.
Why
you gotta act like it's real news?
Yeah, if you're going to act like this is real news, put it next to where the real news should be. Put it next to the reappearance of Batboy. All right, I think that's my rant, my rumor well rant.
Batboy, 40 years old and loving it.
All right, so now we're up to Geek Talk.
Yes.
Yep.
So the first thing I have to talk about is one I was not planning to watch, but I sat down in front of the TV with my dinner and said, hey, everyone's talking about the Superman premiere, and I have an hour to burn, so why not watch it? So Superman and Lois premiered on the CW this week. It was kind of foreshadowed by the events of the latest season of Supergirl with Superman and Lois's role within that season. And the way this is set up is basically that it's almost set in the same time frame as what the Canaries show would have been, except instead of it being like this is a show that's clearly set in the future with futuristic technology, it's almost like everything else was in the past. This is the present, because there's nothing futuristic about it other than the fact that the kids, Lois was pregnant in Supergirl. Now they have teenage twins. So that's really the only time frame thing there. But otherwise, they act as if it's the present day. They don't really give any years as far as I've seen. But, there's nothing like unusual about the way they dress or the music or anything. And the show is basically about I think it's a 2-part premiere. Like it was viewed as a single 1-hour pilot. So it's either a super long episode or it was a 2-part glued together on the streaming. But it was basically about the twins learning about who their father was, learning that their father was Superman, learning that they may have powers, as well as the family realizing that something odd is going on in Smallville and a little bit in Metropolis, but mostly in Smallville, and deciding to move there. So it was very much a pilot in every sense of the word. It was setting up that this is going to be a show about probably more about these, in particular, the one teen son who is a little less neurotypical. I think he's on, and I know they said he has social anxiety, possibly on antidepressants and whatever. So for me, at least, the more relatable than regular Superman. But it seems like he's going to be the main focus, and it's going to be coming to terms both with his own powers and with everything else going on. They also introduce a villain who seems to be a character who survived the crisis from another Earth, and he may be intended to be a recast, kind of replacing the Earth Prime version of a certain main character from the Supergirl show. But I don't necessarily know for sure. They're kind of keeping that a little bit vague, a little bit in the dark. So that would be released throughout the show. Otherwise, it's very much the kind of parenting dynamic that the final season of Arrow had, with Ollie having his teen daughter and whatnot, except that Clark Kent is a very different man and a very different father than Oliver Queen.
Right.
And again, and Lois is a very different person than Felicity Smoke. So I think that gives enough to see what the show is setting up. I've seen people saying, that it's really refreshing. I think it's kind of a lot of concepts that the CW already really had, just putting them together in a new way. But it may be good. It may be kind of boring. I don't know yet.
I have heard opinions have been already quite high on it so far, so we'll see. Seems most people are enjoying the first episode.
So is this kind of coming off like Smallville, the next generation, in a way?
Kind of almost sounds like it.
I haven't watched Smallville, but from what I know of Smallville, I would say that's accurate.
Okay.
Which in and of itself is not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually delving into some stuff that they have kind of skirted around for years now.
Yeah, one thing was I thought this show was kind of intended to just continue on the Supergirl story, but from a different point of view. But with the fact that, again, there seems to be a time jump here, that does not seem that's going to happen. You don't really get any hint of any other Supergirl characters, so it seems they're making a pretty clean break.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that Supergirl is going to have its final season this year.
Right.
Which surprised me because, Supergirl is gone, yet somehow the Flash keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of thought it's kind of blown its plot wad, but what do I know? Because Crisis was basically that was everything that the Flash had been building to.
Right.
So you kind of would have thought they would have had an epilogue and done, but
I mean, a lot of it also, it kind of almost seems like they were building up toward like a Justice League show, but they haven't gotten the green light because WB, doesn't like to have movies and shows of the same thing at the same time.
Roll eyes here.
Mm-hmm.
This is why both have suffered for how many years at this point?
Right. See also the aborted Deathstroke plot of from one of the later seasons of Arrow.
Yeah, at the very least, that would explain why they still haven't done a Flash movie yet.
Well, they're working on that right now.
Yeah,
that's in development.
Mm-hmm. The latest news on that was that they cast Supergirl for it.
Yeah. And apparently the new Supergirl has the blessings of the current Supergirl, but
Yep.
We don't know how much of that is real and how much of that is mandated by the company.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that's important, but hey, as long as they're enjoying it and they do a good job, who cares?
All right, so then the next thing I have to talk about are the movies that I intentionally watched for Geek Talk this week. The first is what is arguably considered the first fully released and the best Fantastic Four movie, although it's technically not a Fantastic Four movie. That would be The Incredibles 2004 from Disney. And I knew this was very popular going into it, but I hadn't seen it because it came out right around the time when my family kind of stopped buying Disney movies.
Yeah, shame on you, Bill.
And so it's very much very clearly Fantastic Four inspired, although I'm trying to figure out if Frozone is inspired by anybody other than the Silver Surfer.
Iceman.
Iceman.
From X-Men.
Yeah.
That crossed my mind, but an X-Man and the Fantastic Four, I don't, unless
same universe. What does it matter?
Same universe, and a few of them used to hang out.
Yeah. Heck, the Human Torch used to hang out with Spider-Man.
Yep, and when they had to make an alternate Fantastic Four when the others disappeared, Wolverine was part of it.
Wolverine was part of it. She-Hulk was part of it for a while.
But yeah, Frozone's character is basically Samuel L. Jackson. It's very much not, as far as I've seen, anything of Bobby. But yeah, so this is a backward comparison coming from now that would not have been a comparison at the time. But The Incredibles is to the Fantastic Four as the Orville is to Star Trek. And that's me saying that as someone who has thoroughly enjoyed each season of the Orville as it's come out. But basically, I mean that it's very much taking the characters from their pedestal and making them more relatable, more working class. There's no super genius in the family that we're aware of anyway.
Technically, we have no idea what Jack is going to be.
Jack is a creature of all trades.
Although at least at the end of the movie, it's kind of implied that he's, a Franklin Richards super mutate. But I don't know if that follows through up until in the second movie or not.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's still in the second movie. For my
under Jack powers listed all.
Yeah, so I figure he was based on Franklin Richards in that way.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's I think most people know more about this movie than I did anyway, but it's basically the return of superheroes after a PR debacle had caused them to go underground for a few years, as well as a subplot with as well as the big bad being basically a former fan who decided to kill all superheroes and steal the spotlight for himself. The funny thing is, I've seen this criticized in the sense that one line that the villain has, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. It starts with an S.
Syndrome.
That he has one line about very Lena Luthor-esque, talking about Supergirl, but of making everybody super and putting everybody on equal footing, and that would be a valid motivation, except that's not really his motivation in the rest of the movie, because most of the time he's trying to hog the spotlight. And there is the thorough line of his plot where he sees it very much about the spotlight and not at all about the effort and skill that it takes, from when he's first introduced as a child to when he finally gets his ass beat by his own creation. It's again trying to take the easy way out. But I don't think they really extra hammer that home either. It's a lot more about the interaction of the family, the comedy aspect of it, of course, as well as just the family dynamics. But yeah, it was already an incredibly popular movie. I'm sure I'm not saying anything new when I say it was very good. I enjoyed it. It's worth watching.
No kicks.
And now to go to the other end of the spectrum, Fant4 Stick 2015. the latest Fantastic Four movie. I had planned instead to watch The Rise of the Silver Surfer, but for whatever reason, that's not on Disney Plus, so I could not do that. So Fanforstic was a reboot of the Fantastic Four franchise, and it came out right in the midpoint to tail end of the dark and gritty superhero era, before Justice League, but after Man of Steel. So they were really playing up toward that. And it's funny because after watching the original Fantastic Four, part of the Twitter thread I wrote about that afterward was that a lot of what's done with Reed Richards kind of shows a lot of the disliked aspects of autistic traits. And that if they really leaned into it, they could make a really proper, likable version of the character with the right actor and the right writer. And this movie I found interesting because both Reed and Sue are extremely autistic, but again, I don't think they lean into that in the best way. And again, probably, I don't know, it's hard to tell what's intentional and what's not. But yeah, Sue's superpower is pattern recognition. That's about as autistic as you get. But that's the first time I've seen that character written in that way. In terms of the movie as a wider thing, though, it's definitely the most maligned Fantastic Four movie. And I gotta say, the main problem I have with it is the third act. If the first two acts stayed as they are, and then they replaced the third act with something completely different, I think it would be a successful movie. That's not to say there's no other changes that they could make, but the fact that they basically made Doctor Doom into a completely not Doom at all character, and had the entire climax take place in this non-Earth dark place, definitely did not do any benefits for the movie. If they had given it a completely different third act, I think honestly the first half of the movie is all right for what it is. I mean, I talked last week about the challenges Fantastic Four movies have trying to just set up your 4 or 5 main characters and their origin story and their relationships. The relationships here are not quite as good as the first Fantastic Four movie, but they're passable if the third act was better. There's also the fact that, as I said, it's trying to dig into the whole dark and gritty thing, which I think does not do most superhero movies any justice. And I think especially Fantastic Four is not a good franchise for the whole dark and gritty thing.
Nope.
They're usually much more the bright, looking to the future, campy, early Marvel stuff. So
yeah, well, Superman shouldn't be doing it either.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, that's why Man of Steel is not the most well-liked superhero movie, and Dawn of Justice is one of the most hated. So yeah, I think that's about all I have to say.
Now, here's a question for you.
Okay.
You said you thought that with a different third act, it would be a decent movie. Would you still think it would be a decent Fantastic Four movie? Or not, putting it to that different tier of Fantastic Four, because from what it sounds to me, they didn't even keep the Fantastic Four's proper power sets.
I mean, I think after the accident and thing happened, the power sets were similar. Were pretty much what they came to. When I said that was her superpowers, basically saying that was her skill coming into it, and I don't know enough about Susan Storm to know her personality in the comics, because I know on screen it's been all over the place. But I think that it is a functional Fantastic Four movie if they kind of did put more effort toward resolving their differences. There's also the fact that the big that's right. An issue. Now I'm trying to remember because it was like shortly after the last podcast that I finished watching it. But that's right. So they have the running thread that basically like Reed being unable to just like to overcome things is kind of the big issue, where he fails to help Ben when they first get their powers because he's too weak, and then he kind of doesn't know what to do and he runs away when Ben needs help after they get their powers, when they're kind of being experimented on by the military. And I wish that they had I wish they had emphasized bringing that to a resolution a bit more strongly in the climax. But that's why I say that the third act is weak all around. But I do think that it's I do not think it's as bad a Fantastic Four movie. Again, if the third act were different, and just in terms of how the characters interact with one another, I don't think it's as bad as some of the accounts that I've seen seem to. Again, we're talking very hypothetical with changing a third act, but you do see you do see some of the same relationships that you're used to seeing. Oh, and that's right. And Ben is kind of very wooden, and he's supposed to be one of the more animated characters. So
that would kill it for me.
That's a huge flaw that I wasn't thinking about.
We're the characters in character,
and that's partially an issue with the first movie, as well as both the original Fantastic Four and the 2015 one. They really lean heavily into the pathos of Ben Grimm, but Ben Grimm is really mostly remembered as the comic relief in a lot of ways by comic book readers, and I don't think any of the movies have really dealt with that.
Well, he is the down, not really so much the comic relief, but he's the down to earth one.
Yeah.
He's the blue collar one, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
There's times where he's the comic relief, but there's also some very dramatic storylines they did with him.
Yeah.
That
if they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that the Origin comics really focused on the dramatics part because he was the one that was the most changed and it affected him the most.
Yeah, he depending upon which version you're looking at, he lost like family members because of his transformation.
Especially in this movie, it's basically like he's the victim that needs to be saved, really, and is most like seems to be most. He has the least agency in the movie. He's pretty much the one that is kind of just being shuffled along by Reed or by the military at different times.
And here's the thing about Origin comics, especially with Marvel. Stan Lee is great about creating character concepts. He was not great about creating character personalities. It's usually the writer that comes in after Lee steps down starts breathing the actual personalities of characters.
Yeah, Stan Lee's a great idea guy, but he's not the flesh out the character guy.
I did notice that neither of the two movies used the line "ever loving blue-eyed thing," and that was a shame. but the 2005 version would have been much more likely to lean in that direction than the 2015 version.
Yeah. I feel like the thing and like Ben Grimm in general in like Rise of the Silver Surfer has a bit more comedy going on, but yeah, I think it's just like the initial movie is, wow, this just happened, so now I've got to deal with this.
And when I watched Rise of Silver Surfer in theaters, my entire focus was on, wow, the Silver Surfer himself is really wooden, and Galactus is a cloud. What am I watching? The actual Fantastic Four were not what I was paying attention to in the theaters, so I definitely need to watch that movie.
I can tell you why it's currently not on Disney Plus.
Oh?
Yeah, apparently Starz holds the streaming license to it right now, and that probably has since the Fox takeover.
So yeah, they probably still have the streaming rights for a little while yet.
Yep. They have to wait till those rights expire.
The weird thing is that both Roku and several sources I found online claimed it was on Disney Plus, but then when I tried to open it up in Disney Plus, they were like, "It's not here."
It might be internationally. It's on Disney Plus, but the North American streaming rights is still held by Starz, which is a North American premium cable company. Yeah.
It was really weird when I went to the Roku main menu and I searched Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer, and it brought me to Disney Plus to open the movie, and then Disney Plus was like, there was an error. We can't open that movie because it's not here.
Yeah.
It is definitely in Australia, I'll say that much.
If you can't find something on what you expect it to be on, do you have Amazon Prime, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah, try to search for it on Amazon Prime and see if they have another option other than rent or buy.
Mm.
And if they do, that should tell you what service technically owns it.
Right.
That's how I found that out, is I went to Amazon Prime and it says, to view this, subscribe to Stars.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that probably was a deal Fox made prior to them being bought out.
And which is funny because I think Stars or Star is the name of the international, like all the adult stuff that is being rolled into Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So
Stars with a Z.
I think so.
I'm not sure how it was spelled. I just heard that was the thing that's happening too.
Yeah.
But like I said, that is a premium cable company here, or a premium movie network. That's you usually get through cable. It used to be, I think, packaged with Encore, and I have no idea what happened to Encore, but Stars is still around, and they make original content too, because that was the company that made Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I need to get third season. Anyway.
But yeah, so they hold the license. Anyway, is that the end of your...
Yep, that's the end of mine.
All right. So that goes to my one. So, yeah, literally yesterday I finished Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne. So I guess the way to describe this one is to also go off to describe the first one a little bit too. Both these games are, I guess the best way to describe it is action noir. The story itself unfolds much like a mystery noir story, but in between the story elements, you get these action-packed levels where you're in a third-person camera, sometimes leaping through jumps and stuff, but most of the time you're in these action set pieces where you're dodging around corners using like John Woo-esque action stuff where you're head diving, side diving, or even just right-clicking to activate a bullet time slowdown so you can rush in and take out a group of guys without hopefully getting ripped apart. The main character is Max Payne. He was actually an undercover detective who got involved with a underground government group and has since come back to his original groundings as a regular detective. But as things are unfolding again in Max Payne 2, he starts to realize there's a lot of weird shit going on, and it's starting to involve a lot of people that involved him and stuff in the first game, including his ex-wife's sister Mona, who he is unmarried now because his wife was killed by gangsters. Mona is also a secret agent who's been basically a gun for hire now for a couple of years in between the events of Max Payne 1 and 2. And she inexplicably happens to drag him in on this whole thing about these weird people dressed up as building cleaners. Turns out they are involved with some of the secret organization stuff from the first game, and this comes back around with some of the other characters that get involved as well. The mafioso groups get involved again. A ex-military Russian guy named Vlad is also involved. And there's also some nice little in-references, because this is a Rockstar game. There is a universe outside of just the main gameplay, and there's various TVs and stuff that you can catch people watching. Usually some really amusing stuff. Sadly, I have to say the noir story that they were been telling since the first game did not come to a very interesting conclusion for me, but the tongue-in-cheek parody Lords and Ladies did. That was a very amusing ending. All of it is done really over the top, much like Rockstar would, and basically the only reason Lords and Ladies is there is because that you just want to hear these characters constantly saying "my lord, my lady" back and forth to each other. It's very silly, and matter of fact, the voice actor for Max Payne plays like 2 or 3 characters in the images for that show. But yeah, I will say the gameplay has changed slightly since the first game. The bullet time I remember in Max Payne 1 was not very effective for me. In Max Payne 2, it's extremely effective. If you're using a like machine gun or an Uzi, you are going to mow guys over really fast. And if you're using a shotgun, the new big twist for the bullet time is that you can have this rapid fire reload. So the shotgun can actually get reloaded faster than people can react in bullet time. So you can actually really go at it with a shotgun and not get ripped apart, which is a problem in the first game. Trying to think if there's anything else in particular that they also changed, but that was like the biggest thing is they finally made bullet time a little more useful, so you're not constantly side diving every second and trying to do something else for a strategy. The story I still feel was a very competent follow up to the first one. The only problem I have with the game, first of all, was trying to get the Blade thing to launch and behave itself. For a reason, it doesn't like Windows 10. It's an older game, so I guess that's its main reason for that. Finally got some technical help on that, and finally got it to work. And the other problem I had was that the final boss fight, I'm not going to ruin who it was, the final boss fight, in the first game, the setup is that you're taking out these anchor points on a radio tower and then causing the radio tower to fall over and smash a helicopter, and that's when you kill the main bad guys in Max Payne 1. In Max Payne 2, the villain is in this elaborate thing anchored to the ceiling, and you have to, using only the guns available to you, and you're only like half your arsenal at this point, got to find a way to shoot these little pegs through these holes so that this metal thing comes down, and after that's done, you still got to do it one more time to get another set of 4 pegs to cause a metal spike to fall, and then you can maybe, if you're lucky, catch the main villain running around and put several shots into them and finally end the game. It was very convoluted, and I had to redo that like at least 2 or 3 times before I finally got it. The only time that it became extremely difficult, I occasionally died once in a while here or there, but that one in particular was like, oh man. Trying to hit the same spot and it's a really small spot with some slightly inaccurate third-person controls, so yeah. But otherwise, rest of the game, I would... If I was to try and rate the thing, I would say this is nearly perfect. I would just say be careful what system you're running it on. There are some fixes out there. Not all of them work completely perfectly. What saved it for me is I went into the game folder and launched the game in admin mode, and that finally solved a frame rate issue. Otherwise, the rest of it, the story, the gameplay, really fun. Really enjoyed it. Too bad it was so short. I was trying to think, how long is it going to last now? Like 7 hours of gameplay? But there's also the ability to play in harder difficulties, just that they also force you to only play in the easiest mode first. Oh well. But yeah, story-wise, really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, the only thing I know about Max Payne is it was a garbage movie.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that, and I also hear the third one was disappointing, but I'm still willing to play it since I have it. Must have gotten it off of a
Alright.
Humble Bundle or something because I have all the DLC too. So yeah, I guess that covers all our geek talk. So I guess it's now down to talking about today's episode. In which case, Randy, are you ready?
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
Alrighty.
Uh, Sorry, I had to go AFK real quick to take some pills, so
Ah,
I had to turn off my phone light. Uh
Yeah.
okay.
all right. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we start this out in the quiet village of Ledworth, an indiscriminate amount of time after the last time we've seen Amy and Rory, which we find out later was around 5 years. Amy and Rory are apparently are apparently married, and Amy is pregnant, if I can say that instead of trying to say it all at once. Um, the doctor shows up and seems to be a bit surprised. They go for a walk around town, and the doctor is suitably bored, so much so that they seem to fall asleep on a bench and wake up in the TARDIS. Only it's not 5 years in the future. Amy's not pregnant, and they seem to be having some kind of transit problem. Well, it turns out after a little bit of this happening that the doctor's contacted by an entity called the Dream Lord, who mocks and scoffs at the doctor and basically says, yes, you are seeing two different realities. One is real, one isn't. You try to figure out which one is. If you die in the dream, you wake up. If you die in reality, you die. And this goes on for a while as the sleepy village of Upper Ledworth, as it's apparently now called, is beset by alien creatures living in the bodies of senior citizens. Yeah. On the other hand, in an equally improbable way, the TARDIS is apparently falling into a cold star, which is a star that burns cold. Yeah, neither one's winning any points with me.
Nope.
So they go back and forth between these two, hearing the chirping of birds, which causes them to fall asleep and wake up in whichever alternate reality they have. Well, on the TARDIS, the goal is basically at this point try to keep from freezing to death. And meanwhile, they are on a constant, I would say it's kind of a Night of the Living Dead with old people.
Almost.
Yeah.
As apparently these things can spray a mist that turns people to dust. Well, after about 20 minutes of them retreating from these things, enough that they are now locked in their house with everybody breaking into the building, Rory is sprayed by one of these things and dies. This prompts Amy to basically go, this can't be reality. I don't care if it is, because if it is, I don't want to. She goes out, goes into a vehicle, and plows the vehicle, with the doctor also inside, into the cottage at full speed, causing them to die and wake up in the freezing TARDIS. They're kind of congratulating each other. They get congratulated by the Dream Lord, who, after mocking them the entire 20 minutes, has basically decided, oh, well, you've won. The doctor doesn't buy this and causes the TARDIS to blow up, which causes them to wake up. It seems the entire episode was caused by some psychic crystals that fell into the time rotor and caused them all to have a dream state. The Dream Lord is actually the doctor's darker side. So basically, cut rate Valiard. He blows the crystals out. Rory asks Amy how they died in Ledworth, and she basically explains it. And they go off to meet the next thing. The end.
All right. 3 minutes, 54 seconds.
Which is more than I thought it would be.
Oh, you did skip the last bit, though.
Which bit?
The Dream Lord and the Council. He's still out there somewhere.
I'm thinking that was more the Doctor's impression on himself.
Never know.
Remember, he's part of the Doctor. He's the Doctor's dark side. He's basically, like I said, cut rate Valiard.
Hmm. I believe, to quote a Stephen King title, they always come back.
Unless they decide not to.
Yeah, unless the
We're at the
unless
Chibnall now,
the
and he'll ignore
showrunner
everything
decides
Moffat
not
ever
to.
made. Yeah. Except for apparently the Weeping Angels, but we're not going to deal with that right now. Anyway. So let's talk about what we liked about this serial. And Thomas, you are first.
Hmm. I guess I just like the premise of like the whole you have to figure out which is real and you have to die in one to whatever and all that. Like, I don't know, just something about the base premise. Um, even if you want to argue about the execution or whatever, or like the specific dream things that we have, is like I actually remember that, and I didn't actually remember the sort of secondary twist where it turns out they were both. But yeah, um, yeah, I like the general concept of this.
All right. Matt.
Oh, I just had it. I was just thinking about it and I had it and now I just lost it. Dang it. Because actually that was also my first choice too. Was the general concept. Um. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm always kind of slightly miffed and annoyed that I constantly question whether or not Amy really loves Rory, kind of deal. And I really did enjoy the fact that this episode decided it's time to literally just hammer the nail on the head and just go, no, she doesn't. She would give up literally traveling with the Doctor if it meant that Rory would never be around anymore.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she wasn't sure herself until that moment. All right.
But yeah, just that little bit of finally just officially pinning it, and it's like, yeah, she loves him, and she wouldn't be anywhere without him.
Okay.
Which, of course, is all set up for what happens at the end of the next episode.
Oh yeah, which is all set for a lot of things that follow.
All right. Bill.
So I like how once they establish the threat, they kind of keep the tension up. They don't linger in one setting for long enough for it to start feeling easy to solve. They just kind of keep you disoriented, going back and forth. I thought they did that pretty effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd have to agree with you. Um. All right. So what I liked how they really pointed out the differences between the two universes, and I'm talking about the the lighting scenarios, the costuming, the fact that in the future Rory had the ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just all those little things that just help make it like, yes, this is obviously different.
Rory ponytail
and even
and
just
Amy
like
pregnant. Yeah.
yeah, and Amy having her hair up in one and down in the other.
Oh,
Yep.
that's true too.
Yeah, the Amy pregnant thing was the obvious one.
Yeah.
That was the mallet. But yeah, I was talking more of the subtle changes. And like I said, how they arrange the lighting differently, and yeah. So I enjoyed that. Let's talk about what you didn't like. Thomas.
God, I don't know. Oh, that's weird. Like, I can't really think of anything that entirely stands out. I guess yeah, no, I can't really even nitpicky stuff. I can't really think of anything that springs immediately to mind to mention, so I'll just pass for now.
All right, Matt.
I got a good one here for you. There's at least I think I think the first time is excusable as they don't know who they are yet, but there's at least two times after that where the doctor and companions are knocked out and the alien possessed humans don't do anything to stop them. The first time is when they're in the place and they're putting the sweater on the doctor, and the second time is just before they knock out and they come back to see the dust piles where the kids were playing. It's just like, okay, you guys literally have these strangers from out of nowhere, a stranger from out of nowhere, and the two people who usually don't stay in town that much, and they're literally digging their noses right into everything you're doing and probably have now witnessed everything you've done. Why are you letting them go multiple times?
Well,
I
because they're
can
not
get
real.
I well, yeah, I kind of get what you mean, but it also we're operating on dream logic, so
Except that it's
it's
working on
hard
the
to
logic that
tell.
they're still there asleep. Why would they
Yeah.
still let them go? That's like easy targets, let's get rid of them.
Hmm.
Otherwise, they're going to know everything. It is a big it is a big flaw in that particular story. From then on, it
Uh,
works out really well. Matter of fact, they even play off how they protect themselves while some of them fall asleep.
Hmm.
all right.
But yeah, in the particular, there's like at least a couple of times where the villains of that particular piece could have stopped them early.
All right, Bill.
So kind of a little bit along those lines. I wish they had done a little bit more with the Walking Dead older people. Partially because just having the mouth thing is a little too comical. It just makes me laugh when I see it more than it makes me think that these are scary. And then the fact we were kind of talking before the podcast, they don't really have any lines as a supporting cast. And yeah, a quiet cast isn't necessarily a terrible thing in a story, but I felt like they could have done more to make it more interesting, especially since the Dream Lord isn't as present in that version of reality. So there is not as much banter to go off of.
Not as much banter,
All
but
Said
right.
there's
most
a
of
lot
the
of
banter
survival
is between the
situations.
married couple. Now that I think about it,
Hmm?
said most of the banter is between the married couple. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
never call me Tubby again.
Yeah. There's a lot of this is a Amy and Rory driven piece.
Hmm.
Pretty much
Hmm.
is. That's why the title too. To be honest, to
Yeah,
be
the
fair.
doctor's basically there as a vehicle to go. Something's wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and my big hate on this is really I don't like the Dream Lord. You've heard me call him a couple of times now as a cut rate Valiard because he is. He's another dark side of the Doctor's psyche who acts like the master and completely fails the evil overlord test. I mean, he seriously gives them the, oh, yes, I'm giving you a crisis that you need to solve, and then spends the entire time mocking them in a way the master would. It just seems to be this is the Doctor's dark side.
He puts up a test that could cause them to die, and then just the rest of the
Yeah,
time.
Hmm.
yeah, it just seems to be even the Valiard was at least a little more devious than this. This is, yeah, just basically stupid.
He largely seems to be there so that all of the doctor's snarky opinions about Rory can have a vehicle to come out.
Yeah. Which I didn't think was necessary, but
Which, you know, the Ninth Doctor would not have needed.
no. We heard all of his opinions about Mickey.
And Jackie. Especially about Jackie.
And the 10th Doctor had them too, and was slightly more polite.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't
Which
feel
is funny considering that he was rude and not ginger.
Well, he didn't feel the need to be overly so because he was already familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, that was my big beef. Favorite scene? Thomas.
Yeah, pretty much when God, there's a few, but yeah, I'll just go with it. The initial Rory dies in the village and Amy just kind of immediately is like, well, I don't give a shit if this is real or not. If Rory's not here, I don't care anymore. Like, I would rather just die.
And just as a comment on that, this really even more makes me dislike Angels Take Manhattan.
Yeah, I had that thought too.
Yeah, because this is basically Amy. That's basically Amy doing the exact same thing 2 seasons later.
Yeah, Moffat had one plot with Amy and Rory and just kept writing it.
Yarg.
I had forgotten about this episode when we reviewed Angel's Take back in the day. I had completely, I think possibly repressed this episode.
I'd prefer this over Angels.
And it might just be because my brain was distracted by Statue of Liberty Angel and was going insane as it was. But yeah, it is literally because I had thought, yeah, well, at least the ending was decent. No, the ending's fucking this. I may have to revise Angels lower now.
What's that score again?
It's amazing how that one episode, even, freaking nearly 10 years later, manages to raise my blood pressure.
Let's not get started on Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
It probably also helps more now that, Revolution of the Daleks happened and we actually had some more New Who companions willingly leave. So it's more like, why the fuck can't you do that, Moffat?
Okay.
Not everybody needs to be murdered or thrown into another dimension. Okay. Least favorite thing?
Is that what we're up to?
Was that
I thought we were still on favorite scene.
Favorite scenes. Yeah. Right. Sorry. I'm a step behind. Most favorite scene. You know what? Actually, very Doctor of the Doctor. Very Doctor of the Doctor. In the midst of a alien invasion going on, he literally gets into a van and just starts saving a dozen people on his way to save his friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just like, I only have one problem with that scene. It's like, where were these people 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, that is a bit of a question, but I don't worry about that because they probably got spooked of wherever they were by the creepy old people.
Other than that, it is a perfect moment of, yeah, okay, I need to be me right now.
Mm-hmm. The Doctor in Prime.
Yeah, it's like without even, I think what helps it as well is that it's not even stated in dialogue. It's just like,
yeah, it's just him literally constantly stopping and going with the van, getting people out of dangerous situations and getting them out of town.
Yeah.
Well, there's the dun 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 playing.
Yeah. Mm.
Yep, big damn hero time.
Mm.
All right.
With Pseudo and the
Bill.
Doctor playing.
My favorite scene. I've been trying to come up with that because I feel like that one there was definitely a top. Otherwise, I guess just the scene of the doctor taking forever to realize she's pregnant. It's not like epic, but it's funny. It gets a good laugh out of me even when I know it's coming. Just the way that scene is delivered and handled. So I guess I'll go with that one.
I don't know. That scene eats at me because it's another scene of Matt Smith being deliberately stupid. Because she says, "I'm pregnant 3 times."
He's not listening.
Yeah. And
it's consistent with the way that doctor is written throughout the rest of his
To be
run.
fair, yeah. As much as we don't like the way he's written like that, but
yeah,
well, actually, it's kind of the Moffat Doctor in general because even the 12th Doctor, if that scene had played out with Peter Capaldi and Clara, I think it would have gone the same way.
Not that much like
Except,
that.
well, except he would have had more fat jokes throughout the episode.
Yeah.
That Doctor did have a mean streak during his time with Clara.
I think that might be Capaldi in general.
Attack eyebrows.
Peter Capaldi. He's just an asshole, people. My favorite scene. I would have taken the saving people. That was mine. So I'm now kind of grasping at straws.
So I think overall we can agree that that's the best scene.
One of the best scenes in the episode, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass because that was mine. All right, least favorite scene.
Just because because I was thinking of how their story ends and Revolution actually allowed us to see companions leave. The line where Amy is like they're talking about whether the village setting is real. It's like, why would we give all this up? Who could ever give all that up? I'm just like, just like lots of people. God damn it! Like,
The thing is that actually doesn't bother me so much because I suspect many companions think that way until they've had enough.
But
especially so early in her run. As what is she, like 19? I think in the story.
Probably.
Yeah, and this is only what, her like 6th, 7th outing.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's not the fault of this episode. It's just like in the grander scheme, there's just that line is just like, oh, fuck you, Moffat. Because we've literally had that conversation before more recently where it feels like both Moffat and RTD have that mindset of, why would you ever willingly leave the TARDIS? And it's like, people have that goddamn reason.
Because once in a while, people need to have their feet on the ground.
So yeah, it wasn't like the line itself. It was just like my bringing. In a way, yeah, it's like it's not really the show's fault. It's just bringing my own baggage with that.
Yeah, they keep writing, why would we ever leave the TARDIS? Why would you ever quit writing for the TARDIS? Got you there, guys, didn't I?
Riddle me this, competent writer.
Because eventually you just get the feeling that enough's enough. All right. Matt. Least favorite scene.
Oh, least favorite scene. Seriously questioning cold weather ponchos when they're about risking being frozen. That seemed a little silly.
It's better than nothing at all, but yeah, it's not going to
Mhm.
help that much.
Mm.
Depends
Yeah.
on what it's made out of, because it's pretty much what a Snuggie is, right?
Those seem to be made out of basically blanket.
Yeah, they
Mm.
basically seem to be heavy fleece blankets. It's like, well, it's better than nothing, but you're going to complain about the look of it? Okay. How about you just freeze then?
Fair. Is that me then?
Yep.
So this is why I didn't speak much on the Dream Lord when you mentioned it, because I didn't want to use this up early. But the scene where the doctor is like, I only know one person who could hate me as much as the Dream Lord does. And I was like, I don't think the Dream Lord has had enough action or even dialogue to sell that. You're really overselling the concept to kind of give it away instead of actually showing us this fact.
Yeah, he's more of an annoying, taunting a-hole. We haven't really seen him hate you.
It's like every time I watch the episode, I'm like, did I miss something? Like, where does he hate the doctor to that extent? Like, there's plenty of people that hate the doctor, and the line itself makes sense, but not in context.
Mm.
Yeah, and really, the Dream Lord being his dark side, you think that would be a better thing for Capaldi's doctor, the annoying taunting a-hole.
Mm.
I'm just saying that would fit him to a T, but yeah.
Mm.
But so my least favorite scene is his confrontation with the aliens and the old people. Because he asks them all the questions and then immediately answers them himself.
Mm.
And they actually seem to want to take the time to converse with him rather than, just kill him, which is what they've done thus far. It's an out of character moment for the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a dream, but it's just one of those little annoying little side pieces. It's supposed to establish that, oh yeah, the doctor's done all this before, so he knows what they're going to say.
Right.
But it's just handled badly. All right. We are up to final thoughts.
Okay. I really like this episode. I don't necessarily think it's like the best thing ever necessarily. And I seem to be like the sole person who actually really likes the Dream Lord, but I don't know. Maybe that's just the acting doing it for me enough that like I just kind of let it slide. Or that I just take it as okay, dark reflection of the childish doctor would probably still be very childish, so okay.
That's technically true too.
Um but yeah, like, and just generally being an annoying prick. But yeah, just like I like this. There are bits that get me between Rory and Amy, but then also immediately after I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how this ends. So it kind of like takes the wind out of it a bit in hindsight. But yeah, I would still say it's worth checking out. It's not necessarily the best thing, and the thing that comes after it is like one of the first Doctor Who thing to ever like break me emotionally. um but yeah, I still think this is pretty good.
Really? That was one of the first things to break you? When did
If
you
I'm
start
getting it right,
when did you start watching?
is it Vincent next, or is there something before that?
The
Isn't
next
it?
thing is the Silurian episode. Like the next, are you saying in the one, the
Oh no,
episode
no,
that
not
follows
not
this?
not not directly after that we're
Oh, that
covering
we're
next.
reviewing is Vincent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that absolutely destroyed me. So that's
Oh.
going to be interesting.
Oh, we are going to have so many odds on that one. Okay. So, Matt, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts. The story is not bad. The ideas are definitely worthwhile. I don't hate the Dream Lord. It's just kind of confusing as to what the actual point of it is, and is he actually a thing or not? And the answer is maybe.
No, the answer is not, because it was just a filler episode.
But yeah, it was basically a filler, and he was apparently been forgotten. So, yeah. But I do like the general idea. Definitely on paper. I think some of the execution might be a little bit lacking in certain spots, but for the most part, they did a really darn good job. I felt the visual effects are still, at least for its time, up to par. And the main thrust of this is actually the character interaction, in particular, all the characters interacting around Amy. For the most part in this particular story. So, yeah, I generally enjoy it. It's not amazing, but it's not by any means horrible either.
All right. Bill?
Okay. So I think this episode is very funnily written. The Dream Lord in particular has a lot of funny lines and some great delivery. I wish the episode had leaned a bit more into that. I think I would be able to forgive a little bit more of it. In particular, it was all a dream. Is only acceptable if you're about to tell me how you used to read Word Up magazine. Um, yeah, it's something that it does not do anything good for pretty much any story. There's a reason Super Mario 2 is the one that people are least likely to talk about. Maybe that's not the only reason.
Because it wasn't really a Mario game.
Right. Yeah, that's what I said. Maybe not the only reason, but still, um, it's
I
never a good
enjoyed
sign
it.
when your entire story is a dream. And but yeah, the I think this episode would have done well if they had really leaned into the comedic aspects and just said, "Hey, instead of this big danger and threat, this is a Looney Tunes episode." Um, but otherwise, I guess it kind of comes off middle of the line. Um, as we've mentioned, the story beats that are really good for it are retreaded all over the place, so they don't actually move the story as much as you'd think they would if they were the only time. Um, and of course, it's the first of many fake out deaths for Rory. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Poor Rory. Stephen Moffat's Kenny until he invents Clara, who is literally Kenny. So I do not like this episode. I didn't like it when it came out. I still don't like it today. I might be a little more forgiving on it today than I was when it first came out back in 2010, but I still don't like it. I don't like the concept of the Dream Lord because we've already had the Valiard, which is supposed to be the Doctor's dark side. Do we really? So basically, he's just a retread Valiard, and I didn't feel that was necessary.
Except the Valiard played it completely seriously.
Yes. But again, that's also kind of a production difference between old Who and new Who. Because remember, they were all up the camp for this. Anyway. The cinematography on it was good. The acting, as what acting we got, was good. But we really didn't see much character development outside of the main characters. It really just kind of falls flat for me. And I really think it could have been better written. And it would have been better if it was written more dramatically than comedically.
So you think they should have gone the opposite of what I recommended?
With the point that they were going for Amy making that choice,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it should be more dramatic. Yes.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I would agree with that.
All right, let's rate it. Thomas, you're first.
I'm sort of wondering if I can. Let's see. Well, yeah, no. It's not that I think this is anything especially great. It's just that there are some things that would bump it up for me. So I will give this a 4.
All right. Matt?
Would surprise you. I'm actually not going to be a top score this time. I'm giving it a 3.5.
5. All right, Bill.
So I was going to give this a 3, but I think just for Toby Jones's performance, I'll give it a 3.5.
And I will give it your score of 3.
Oof.
Which,
Actually-
of course,
Go ahead.
actually, because for me, it's kind of a that happened episode.
Although if the doctor had mentioned, when he mentioned the pool, if he had talked about the library at the same time, that would be
Bill?
a 4.
Bill? Bill?
Now you're just trying to troll Randy.
A little bit.
Oh.
But by the way, Bill, does this mean that we're right?
It actually does. With my score negating out Thomas's, Matt and Bill are correct because it averages out directly to a 3.5. Which will put this on par with, or,
A lot.
excuse me,
High
it'll
five
take
myself.
it at
I'm alone.
265. 265 out of 378. It is on par with Fugitive of the Dune, The Saranga Conundrum, Planet of the Dead, The Eaters of the Light, The Savages, Planet of the Ood, 42, City of Death, Twice Upon a Time, The Christmas Invasion, Mark of the Rani, Fury from the Deep, and A Town Called Mercy. It is better than The Long Game, The Android Invasion, The Five Doctors, Doctor Who and the Daleks, The Mythmakers, The Androids of Terra, Curse of Peladon, etc.,
I thought the 5 Doctors
and
were
is
better than
not
this.
as good as The Doctor, the Widow, the Wardrobe, The Woman Who Lived, Tomb of the Cybermen, Full Circle, Resurrection of the Daleks, and The Reign of Terror. So there we go.
Fair enough.
Number 265 out of 378. That is all we have to say about Amy's Choice.
All right, so please let us know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like or dislike the episode or the video if you feel that way. And of course, subscribe on YouTube to get our weekly exports or follow us on Twitch to see our streams every Wednesday night.
All right, so next week is going to be what is probably going to be a divisive episode between us because it's an episode I despise, but many people actually love. Next week, we are going to review Vincent and the Doctor, written by Richard Curtis and starring Matt Smith as the Doctor, Karen Gillian as Amy Pond, and Arthur Darvill as Rory Williams. And, of course, the special guest star, Tori Curran as Vincent Van Gogh. We'll see you next week.
Good night.